Shabbat Shalom, Yasharala, Shayahu, Bashoma Shtawashai, the water once again, for bringing us together in holy convocation according to the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. My name is Elder Lapala. My right is Brother
Officer Mesa.
And we are the Light of Zion, located headquarters in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale. Right now we're in Vero Beach. The Most High has blessed us in opening up a new location in Vero Beach where we can come together and edify the people in this region of Florida, as the Most High commanded us that we should edify our people to the four corners of the earth. And we're going to commence today with the scriptures in Deuteronomy 3, verse 21. 23. Okay. Deuteronomy 3, verse 23. Yeah, let's start with Colossians 3, verse. Yeah.
Book of Colossians, chapter 3, and verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Holy One Yahushua, giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by Him.
Right. Whatever you do in word or deed, always do it in the spirit, in commandment of the Most High, the Mashiach Yahushua, whether it's your actions or your thoughts. Whatever you do, whatever something that's proceeding out of your gut feelings. Make sure you meditate on the scriptures. Deuteronomy 3, verse 23.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 3, and verse 23. And I besought the Most High at that time, saying, O Most High, thou hast begun to shew thy servant thy greatness and thy mighty hand. For what the Most High is there in heaven or in earth, that can do according to thy works, and according to thy might.
Right. And I besought the Most High at that time, saying, O Most High Yahweh, thou hast begun to shew thy servant thy greatness and thy mighty hand. For what power is there in heaven or in earth that can do according to thy works and according to thy might? Right. So the Most High showed our forefathers his greatness. And starting with Abraham, it's even before Abraham, saying, the Most High showed our miracles in our sight, especially coming out of Egypt, when the Most High worked out those miracles in the sight of our forefathers, in the sight of the Egyptians, in the sight of the heathens, to let them know that there is no power but the Most High. And the Most High showed us miracles when He even brought us back to our heritage and our nationality, and remind us of the things that that have been done in the days of our forefathers. Pray.
I pray thee, let me go over and see the good land that is beyond Jordan, that goodly mountain in Lebanon. But the Most High was wroth with me for your sakes.
Right. This is Moses reflecting, reflecting on what situation was going on at the time in the wilderness, where we was bringing out, was commissioned by the Most High to bring the Israelites or the Egypt to the wilderness, but the Most High has no respect of persons. All the great works that Moses did, but because of the stubbornness of Israel, the one time Moses, that's why the Most High said it's better to obey and sacrifice. At one time, didn't follow the Most High's commandment as it was supposed to, which was to speak to the rock. And Moses didn't do that with the frustration because of the stubbornness of our people. Moses didn't follow the Most High's commandment as it was supposed to, and because of that, Moses said, "You're not going to make it into the land. Neither you or Aaron, because Moses was supposed to speak to the rock to glorify the Most High in the sight of the Israelites, so the Israelites can see again the Most High's greatness. Understand? Because Israel is always looking for a sign. Israel is always looking for a sign. Even way back then, coming out of Egypt, he was always looking for a sign. And Aaron, he didn't make it into the promised land either, because even though it was Moses that who the Most High commanded to speak to the rock. Aaron was there with them. So Aaron was in effect an accomplice. That's why the most you're a witness. For the witnesses, you're a brother's keeper or sister's keeper. Understand? So if we see each other going off, we're supposed to check each other. If we don't check each other, the Most High is going to hold you accountable also. And that's what happened to Aaron. Because he didn't check Moses when Moses didn't follow the Most High's commandment exactly how he wanted to follow. Verse 26.
But the Most High was wroth with me for your sakes, and would not hear me. And the Most High said unto me, Let it suffice thee. Speak no more unto me of this matter.
Right. The Most High has made up his mind. Did a great job, Moses, but the people of Israel needed a sign. I needed them to be sanctified in their sight. Understand? I give you a commandment to speak to the rock at the waters of Meribah. You did not. So because of that, I don't want to hear it anymore. I made up my mind that you will not make it to the promised land. Read on.
Verse 27. Get thee up into the top of Pisgah, and lift up thine eyes westward, and northward, and southward, and eastward, and behold it with thine eyes. For thou shalt not go over this Jordan, but charge Joshua, and encourage him, and strengthen him. For he shall go over before this people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which thou shalt see. So he abode in the valley over against Beth Peor.
Right, so Moses was able to see the promised land. All four corners of the promised land, east, west, north, and south. But he was not able to make it to the promised land. His assignments would be been handed down to Joshua. So he was commissioned to encourage Joshua, build up Joshua, because Joshua was going to assume the responsibilities of Moses to bring the Israelites into the promised land. Chapter 4. Deuteronomy 4, verse 1.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 1. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live, and go in and possess the land which the Most High power of our fathers giveth you.
Right. So Moses let them know, see, the Most High perfected me, the Most High chose me to lead you. But because of my disobedience, I wasn't able to make it to the promised land. So, hearken now, Israel. If the Most High did that to me, what do you think He's going to do to you because of your disobedience? Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the commandments which I teach you, for to do them, that you may live and go in and possess the land which the Most High power of your fathers, most of the power of your fathers gave it you. Moses let them know right there, hinting to them right there, yeah. If you want to live, you got to do upon what the Most High says. If you want to possess the land which the Most High promised to our forefathers, you have to do what the Most High says, because the Most High didn't promise this land to any specific individual. He said the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Understand? That's why at one point the Most High wanted to kill all of Israel. I said, step aside, Moses, let him kill him, and I will raise up another nation out from you. And Moses said, no, Most High can't do that. Well, what is it going to look like in front of the heathens? Understand? The Most High, the heathens are going to look like you brought your own people into the wilderness to slay them. That would be counterproductive. They would look at you like, you see, this is the God they serve, a God who does slaughter them. That wouldn't be perceived as you being sanctified amongst the nations. So Moses pleaded on behalf of the Israelites, and Moses took heed to Moses' plea and spared the Israelites nation, spared the Israelites. Verse 2.
Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you.
Right. You should not add unto the word which I command you. There's no private interpretation. Understand? So it's amazed me, there's so many different doctrines out there. Right. So many different philosophies. So many different translations of the scriptures. We understand that we speak different languages through the four corners of the earth, but different Bibles they have, that's specifically that's just private interpretation. plus what they are different religion. Moses said, "You shall not add unto the words which I command you." Don't deviate from it. Don't subtract from it and don't add to it. Read on.
Neither shall you diminish aught from it.
Neither shall you diminish aught from it. Don't add anything to it and don't take away anything from it. Whatever I'm saying to you, that's what I meant to say. I misspeak. So don't paraphrase me. Don't give your own vain opinion, your own opinion as to what I should have said or what you think it means. Just understand what it is, what is commanding you to pass on to your people, the Israelites. Read.
That ye may keep the commandments of the Most High your power, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what the Most High did because of Baal Peor. For all the men that followed Baal Peor, the Most High thy power hath destroyed them from among you. But ye that did cleave unto the Most High your power are alive, every one of you this day.
Right. So I mean, you all saw examples because coming out of Egypt, there were so many different instances where we tempted the Most High, where we had transgressed against the Most High. By challenging the leadership, by challenging Moses, even Miriam and Aaron, when they challenged Moses' leadership, when the Most High put a plague of leprosy on Miriam, I understand, and various cases where a large portion of the population of our people got destroyed, short of our journey in the wilderness because of transgressions. But the instant Israel saw that, they would quake, they would fear the Most High, but it's like they have short-term memory. Yeah. I'm saying like like a convenient amnesia or whatever. Yeah. You don't saw what happened to your people for their disobedience, and the next day, damn, you went right back into transgression and did nothing happened. It's amazing. Hey?
But ye, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments.
Not religion,
right.
Not doctrines, not philosophies. The Most High taught us what? Statutes and judgments. What are the statutes? The commandments. What are the judgments? The punishment for deviating from the commandments, for adding to the commandments, for taking away from the commandments and enacting your own private interpretation and doing your own thing. Those are the judgments, penalties for breaking the laws. And our people, through the four corners of this earth, we are born the judgments of the Most High for not keeping those statutes which He gave us. Read.
Even as the Most High thy power commanded me, Salah, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it.
Right. So, and when we are gone into the land to possess it, you were supposed to keep those commandments. But Israel always keep repeating itself, man, in deviating from the Most High's commandments, because even after the Assyrian captivity, where the northern tribe were taken away by the Assyrians in 722 BC, they got released in 538 BC. What did they say? They had a council amongst themselves and said, "Let us go into a land where mankind never dwelled, so we can do what? So we can keep the Most High's commandments." That was the intention. What happened? It fell off. That's it. So that's the stubbornness of Israel. When the wax back, they kick it. Right?
Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations.
Right. Keep therefore and do them. Keep the Most High's commandments and do them, because this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. So the Most High, it's like the Most High chose Israel as a special people to themselves above all nations. What does that mean? The other nations run about us. They were wicked. So when we turn to the left, the right, the east, west, north, and south, all we're going to see was that wickedness. That's why the Most High said, "Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations." So When you see the nation do something wicked, you say, nah, that ain't the way to go. Just stick to what the Most High said. That's your wisdom. Don't get influenced or drawn up by their way of doing things. But of course that didn't happen. Because we know that the Most High gave us elders, judges to govern Israel. But that wasn't good enough for us. You wanted kings, but that's further down the line. You wanted kings just like that, just like the other nations. Even when the other nations saw the wisdom in us, because these people are different. They're so different from us. And they saw the result. That's why throughout history, the other nations, even today, that's why Esau contaminates all the food we eat. Because even inadvertently, when we eat food that contain abominable things, pork, whatever, that we're not supposed to eat, all those things kind of pollute us. And all the pollution, even though we're on the grace to some extent, all this pollution kind of withhold certain wisdom and knowledge for the Most High coming to us. So they would do that intentionally. Even back in the days, they would even try to attack when the enemies would try to attack us on the Sabbath day, because they know we will be unprepared or reluctant to fight on the Sabbath. Read on.
Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath the Most High so nigh unto them?
That was special. The nations envied us. But we, not adhering to the scriptures, not appreciating the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, didn't find comfort in the Most High's word. We want to be like the other nations. Read.
As the Most High thy power is in all things that we call upon him for.
Right. Most High's our power is in all things that we call upon him for. Read.
And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons and thy sons' sons.
Right. Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen. See? That's what happened. They forgot the things that their eyes have seen. They forgot the great things that the Most High did for Israel, parting the Red Sea, delivering us from the other nations, strengthening us in time of war, punishing us in time of wickedness, transgressions. But they forgot all about that, lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them to thy sons and thy sons' sons. Read.
Especially the day that thou stoodest before the Most High thy power in Horeb, when the Most High said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And ye came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire, unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Most High spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude, only ye heard a voice.
Wow. They heard the voice of the Most High. They were at the foot of the mountain, and they heard the voice of the Most High. Which other nation did witness that? No other nation witnessed that. Read on.
And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. And the Most High commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Most High spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire.
Right. What Moses was hinting at is that you didn't see manner of similitude. I mean, you didn't see any image, you didn't see any drawing, you didn't see any sculpture, you didn't see any formation of any creature of any kind. So what did I tell you? So don't think you know what the Most High looks like, that you're gonna create something out of your own imagination and say, this is representation of the Most High. Now that's when you start going off into idolatry, and I'm creating an image of a bird or an image of a creature in the sky, a creature on the earth, a creature under the waters. Read on. 16.
Lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image.
Yeah, lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image. You need to corrupt yourself. You didn't see any image, so don't corrupt yourself and start thinking this is what the Most High looks like. This. Read.
The similitude of any figure, the likeness of a male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Most High thy power hath divided unto all nations under the whole heaven.
Right, so don't go imagine what the Most High looks like and think you're going to create something representing the Most High as a fowl in the air, or a beast on the ground, or a fish under the sea. And I don't even think that when you look up in the sky, you see the sun, moon, and stars. Then you gotta interpret that to be the Most High, because all those are things that the Most High created. Read.
But the Most High hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. Furthermore, the Most High was angry with me for your sakes, and sware that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go unto that good land, which the Most High thy power giveth thee for inheritance. For I must die in this land, I must not go over Jordan. But ye shall go over and possess that good land.
Yeah, this takes some kind of character, man. Moses, I mean, knowing all the work you did, knowing all the great work you did for those years, 40 years in the wilderness, and instead of hiding from Pharaoh for 40 years, because you defended your fellow Israelites, and Pharaoh was looking for you to kill you, so you had to be a fugitive on the run, hiding, living amongst Midianites, and now putting up with all this stubbornness or rebelliousness from the Israelites, and not being able to make it into the promised land. This is what you call faith right there. Because you're going to encourage people to go on to live a righteous life in the land which you were aspiring to go into, knowing that you can't even go over there because of their transgression. And you were cool, calm, and collected about it, because you know that, because you knew that's faith right there, knowing that that's just one part of life. There's going to be a regeneration. That's faith, knowing that he's not going to make it into the promised land. That's also knowledge that Most High is the power. Understand? It's the Most High grant, give life or take it life. Understand? The Most High said, this is your end. He didn't get angry. Of course he was upset and disappointed. That's human nature. When you have a high expectation of attaining something, of achieving something, and all of a sudden that was cut short, whether it's because of your fault or not. But you have to hold your composure, keep calm and collect, knowing that you're not gonna achieve it. Yeah, that's a character that Moses had.
There's a proverb that says, "Gift deferred brings sorrow," or something like that.
Right.
Vaguely remember.
I can't remember the top of my head, but I know what you're talking about, right? But you look, wait. What, you trying to find something? Oh. Okay. All right. Read on.
Verse 23. Take heed unto yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of the Most High your power.
Take heed unto yourself, lest ye forget the covenant of your power. Whatever you do, don't forget the Most High's commandments. Because if you do, that's going to be to your detriment. Read.
Which he made with you, and make you a graven image, or the likeness of anything which the Most High thy power hath forbidden thee. For the Most High thy power is a consuming fire, even a jealous power.
See that? The Most High thy power is a consuming power, a consuming fire, even a jealous power, a consuming fire that can't be quenched. It's like we've seen on TV of wildfires in California and all the places just burning down acres of land for weeks, for days and weeks and months. Can't be put out. Imagine a consuming fire. Imagine the Most High being a consuming fire, because there's so many instances when the Most High starts slaughtering Israel. Moses didn't call upon the Most High and act. Aaron acted swiftly and promptly. Many more of our people would have been slaughtered in the wilderness. 25.
When thou shalt beget children and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves, and make a graven image, or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of the Most High thy power, to provoke him to anger.
See that? Like Moses, no. He was warning them. But he knew how they were. He was with them for 40 years. When you shall beget children and children's children, and ye shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves. You knew that sooner or later, some portion of them are going to corrupt themselves and do exactly what the Most High forbade them to do. And make graven image, or the likeness of anything, shall do evil in the sight of the Most High thy power, to provoke him to anger. Read, 26.
I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed.
So Moses knows, if you do that, you are destroying yourselves. But for a certainty, if you shall corrupt yourselves and create these graven image that the Most High forbade to create, know for a certainty that you shall not prolong your days in that land. Read.
And the Most High shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left in number among the heathen.
Read again.
And ye shall be left in number among the heathen.
He's skipping over a word.
And ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Most High shall lead you.
Right, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, the nations, whither the Most High lead you. And that's what's happening right now. We are filled with four corners of the earth, but basically, in every part, every country we are a minority. Even when our numbers are larger, because of the ignorance of not knowing our heritage, and not knowing that we are the same people, different tribes are the same people. We treat each other like enemies, and we get treated because of the division. We get oppressed because the majority, politically and economically, they are able to oppress us, and that's what's happening to our people through the four corners of the earth. Even in the country of this earth, you're gonna see some Israelite community, but you're a minority, and when you're a minority amongst a large population, that large population will exploit you for their own benefit. And that's what happened to our people. That's what's been happening to our people into this state. Read on.
And there you shall serve gods, the works of men's hands.
And there you shall serve gods, the works of man's hands. And that's what's happening. That's why our people are caught up in. That's why in our communities you have so many different religions. That's why you have so many different churches, different denominations of Christianity, different philosophies. Understand? Now you have as many churches as you have corner shops or liquor stores in a community. Why? Because of people that's moving tossed to and fro, serving the gods of the other nations. Read on.
Wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Most High thy power, thou shalt find him.
See that? Even though we're scattered amongst the nations and serving their idols, but if from thence thou shalt seek the Most High thy power, thou shalt find him. Even though we don't know who the Most High is, but because the Most High's everlasting mercies, because of the arrangement or the deal he made with Solomon, we haven't reached there yet in the scriptures, but we know because of the arrangement that the Most High made with Solomon, that if we return to the east, to the temple, and pray to the Most High from our land of captivity, he will hear our prayers. This is the same thing that I guess this is where Solomon got that from. But if from thence, from that place, thou shalt seek the Most High thy power, thou shalt find him. Read.
If thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
Right, if you seek the Most High with all your heart and with all your soul, with all due diligence, with all sincerity. See the Most High with a contrite heart, repentant. We will see the Most High. Read.
When thou art in tribulation, and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Most High thy power, it shall be obedient unto his voice. For the Most High thy power is a merciful power. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them.
See that? Even though Moses wasn't going to make it into the promised land, he was still giving honor unto the Most High, reminding Israel, when you go off, because I know you're going to go off. Maybe not this generation or the next, but sooner or later, your children, you're going to go off. But if you seek the Most High with all your heart and with all your soul, because of his everlasting mercy, he will not forsake you. He will make himself known amongst you. Because that's a covenant that he made with our fathers. For the Most High, that power is a merciful power. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy father. So Moses knows that the Most High, the man that keepeth covenant. Read.
For acts now of the days that are past, which were before thee, since the day that the Most High created man upon the earth, and acts from one side of heaven unto the other, whether there have been any such thing as this great thing is, or have been heard like it? Did ever people hear the voice of the Most High speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou hast heard and lived?
Right. So do a diligent search. Ask some old school, ask your ancestors, some elders. That's what Moses was saying to his Israelites. Have anyone ever heard of a situation where they heard the voice of the Most High speaking under the fire? That was Moses letting them know that you are a special people, a peculiar people unto the Most High, that he will make himself so known to you. So no one understand that and appreciate that the Most High is the only power, and you on whatever you need or want, if you keep his laws, statutes, and commandments, and ask earnestly for it, it will be given to you. And if you go off and turn to him with a contrite heart, he will not forsake you. He will make himself known unto you. Read.
Or hath the Most High essayed to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation by temptations, by signs, by wonders, and by war, and by mighty hand, and by stretched out arm, by stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that the Most High your power did for you in Egypt before your eyes?
Right. Did the Most High do that in any other nation? Right.
Unto thee it was shewed.
But all this was showed unto you. Moses was saying that. All this was showed unto you to let you know that the Most High, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is the only power. And he want to show himself to you that way, not to any other people. That's how close and tight the relationship is between us and the Most High. Read.
That thou mightest know that the Most High, he is power. There is none else beside him.
Right. Unto thee it was shewed that thou mightest know that the Most High is Yahweh the power. There is none else beside him. That's what Moses was emphatically telling the Israelites. So, if you want to go off knowing all this, witnessing all this, directly or historically from your elders and forefathers, then know for a fact that there are going to be consequences and repercussions for your disobedience and your transgressions. Read 36.
Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee. And upon earth he shewed thee his great fire, and thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out of his sight with his mighty power of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee, greater and mightier than thou art, to bring thee in, and to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day.
Right. So because the Most High loved our forefathers, he chose their seed after them, which we are to this day. And he drove out nations mighty and greater than we were. Right now, we are living amongst people, nations mightier and greater than we are. But the Most High is going to take them down for our sakes, for our forefathers' sake. Read.
Now therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that the Most High, he is power, in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath, there is none else. Mm-hmm. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee, and with thy children after thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Most High thy power giveth thee forever. Then Moses severed 3 cities on this side Jordan toward the sun rising, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor unawares, and hated him not in times past, and that fleeing unto one of these cities he might live.
Right. So now Moses, the theme is changing. Now Moses now chose 3 what we call
cities of refuge.
cities of refuge. On this side Jordan, toward the sun rising, towards the east, so that anyone who slays someone inadvertently or accidentally, not having any malice or grudge or hatred toward that person, they may run to one of these cities and be safe from anyone pursuing them to take a revenge for their family members or friends. Right?
Namely, Bezer in the wilderness, in the plain country of the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead of the Gadites, and Golan in Bashan of the Manassites. Mm-hmm. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which Moses spake unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt. On this side Jordan, in the land over against Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote after they were come forth out of Egypt. And they possessed his land, and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan toward the sun rising, from Aroer, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the plain on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain under the springs of Pisgah.
Right. So at this point, they were on the eastern part of the land, because They're circling around. They're going south, going around Edom, and they're going up north and the east side now, which is Jordan. So, and the three tribes, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, because they had a lot of cattle. So, they asked Moses for permission to possess certain of those lands for the cattle, and then they would join the rest of the Israelites to go to war. So at this point in time, they were on the east side of the land, and in order to possess the rest of the land, they would have to go westward now over River Jordan, and that was the duty of Joshua now, to take the Israelites over the River Jordan. Okay, so all this that Moses spoke, all this testimony that Moses gave to the Israelites was on that side of the land, east of River Jordan. Chapter 5.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 5, and verse 1. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak into your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them. The Most High, our power, made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Most High made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day.
Right. So Moses called all the Israelites. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep them and do them. The Most High, our power, made a covenant with us in Horeb. Of course, the Most High made a covenant with our forefathers, but that was a generation ago. So the Most High is now, renewing the covenant with a later generation. The Most High made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. So the Most High was reiterating, renewing the contract, so to speak, with a later generation, to make them be aware firsthand of the terms of the agreement that he made with our forefathers and with our people. So Moses will let them know that you are responsible. You, this generation, are responsible for your own action. Understand? He says, you know that the Most High is dealing with. The Most High is the power of the living. So you are the ones who the Most High has this covenant with. So you are the ones he expects to be in obedience to his laws, statutes, and commandments. Verse 4.
The Most High talked with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. Mm-hmm. I stood between the Most High and you at that time to shew you the word of the Most High. For you were afraid by reason of the fire and went not up into the mount, saying, I am the Most High thy power, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me.
Right, so the Most High talked with you face to face in the mount, out of the midst of the fire. I stood between the Most High and you at that time to shew you the word of the Most High, for you were afraid by reason of the fire, and went not up into the mountain, because they want to hear the Most High's voice. But as soon as they heard the son of the Most High, they said, no, Moses, you talk to the Most High. Verse 7.
Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Most High thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and shewing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
Right. Moses says, thou shalt have none other powers before me. So the Most High is not about sharing of power. The Most High will delegate power, but it doesn't share power. So there's no so-called freedom of religion as you have in America. That's when Yahushua came on this earth, he didn't come to do his own will. He came to do the will of the Most High. Understand that? That's not sharing power. That's power being delegated from the Most High down to the Yahushua. Understand? Just like when Moses was coming out of Egypt, he took on so much. That's what Jephthah said to him. You take on too much to yourself. Understand? Moses being so diligent in trying to do the Most High's work, but Jephthah said you have to share the power, not share the power, but delegate. You have to get captain the 1,000, 500, 100, and so on and so forth. And if things are too hard, then they can come directly to you. But otherwise, delegate the responsibility. Understand? It's the same same agenda, one agenda. They're not going rogue or establishing their own agenda. It's the same one program. Just like Yahushua, when the disciples were complaining to Yahushua that some of the disciples were someplace else preaching the word. They were upset with that. Yahushua said, leave them alone. If they're doing the work of the Most High, it's the same program. Likewise, Paul says, one man water it, one plant it, one water it, the Most High gives increase. Understand? As long as we're in accordance with the same agenda, power is not being shared, it's being delegated. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Most High, thy power, am a jealous power. Why is he jealous? Because he's not sharing his power in the God that man made. Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So the Most High says he's going to visit the iniquity of the fathers upon the children. That's why right now, our forefathers transgressed. Let me get Jeremiah, scripture in Jeremiah. Let's see what it is. Jeremiah 16. Yeah, give me Jeremiah 16, verse 10.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 16, and verse 10. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt shew this people all these words, and they shall say unto thee, wherefore hath the Most High pronounced all this great evil against us?
Right. Why are we in slavery? Why does slavery take place? Why do we go through slavery for 400 years? Why are we confined to the ghettos and slums of America, to the islands, through the four corners of the earth? What did we do? Why are the other nations ruling, but we struggling? Why did the Most High pronounce all this great evil against us? Read.
Or what is our iniquity?
What is our iniquity? What's iniquity? Transgression of the law. Sin. Read.
Or what is our sin that we have committed against the Most High, our power?
Yeah, because our people back then had the understanding and wisdom to know that whatever situation you're going through is because of a transgression. It's not because, it just something that's randomly happened. It's because of a transgression. What is our sin that we have committed against the Most High, our power? Read.
Then shalt thou say unto them.
Yeah, this is what you should say unto them. If someone should ask you why we're going through this tribulation that we're going through right now, why are the so-called white men ruling? Why are the so-called Chinese? Why are they ruling? Why are the Arabs got all this oil and all this money? Why are we being shot down in the streets, unaccounted for? Why is so much so-called black and black violence? Why are people struggling, confined to the ghettos and slums, being last hired, first fired, getting minimum wage jobs? Why is there so much discrimination? Verse 11. This is what your answer should be. Read.
Because your fathers have forsaken.
Read verse 11 from top.
Then shalt thou say unto them,
Right.
because your fathers have forsaken me, saith the Most High, and have walked after other gods, and have served them, and have worshipped them, and have forsaken me, and have not kept my law.
Right. That's why all these things are happening, because for fathers forsook the Most High and have walked after other gods. They became Christian, worshiping Caesar Borgia, became Muslim, they became worshiping Allah, Rastafarian, Buddha, all different religions that man made, and have walked after other gods and have served them and have worshipped them and have forsaken me and have not kept my law. That's why our people are in the condition that they're in and have been in the condition that they're in. Verse 12.
And ye have done worse than your fathers.
And ye have done worse than your fathers. That's the generation. So instead of building generational wealth, what we inherited generational curses, because we've done worse than our fathers in forsaking the Most High and not serving, not keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments. Read.
For behold, ye walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart, that they might not hearken unto me.
Right. So for behold, he walked everyone after the imagination of his own evil heart. And in America here, it's just right for someone. It's a fertile ground for someone to walk in the imagination of the evil heart. When there's freedom of religion, when the separation of church and state, when the Bible and the prayers or the Bible are not allowed in the school system, you have no guidance. So generationally coming up, you have no guidance. So you basically, everyone is left to defend for themselves. And when you do that, you come up with your own concept as to how you should serve the Most High. And of course, you end up leading upon your own understanding, which is your own misunderstanding. That's why a lot of even the Rastafarians talk about inborn concept. You have your own inborn concept. Everybody, if inborn concept was the way to go, that's that multiple religion, because you and I are not going to have the same concept. Understand? Concept is like something you conceive, that you imagine, what you perceive things to be, what you think it should be. Understand? But that's why, and the Most High understands that. That's why the Most High gave us a standard, laws, statutes, and commandments. So even if you had imagined things to be this way, you have to forget that and conform to His ways of doing things. That's why He says what? Your thoughts are not my thoughts. That's why He said that your heart is wicked. Understand? Verse 12.
And ye have done worse than your fathers, for behold, ye walk every one after the imagination of his evil heart, that they may not hearken unto me. Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that ye not know, neither ye nor your fathers, and there shall ye serve other gods day and night, where I will not shew you favor.
Right. So this isn't talking about the Hebrew Israelites. If we're not the Hebrew Israelites, I mean, who is? Because which other people on this earth are going through these things? You may have other people going through some situations, but understand, they're in their land. Right here it's in verse 13, it says, therefore I will cast you out of this land. Yeah, this is a clue right there. Because they may say, but what about the Africans?
Right.
What about even the Indians? They're in their land, they go through some things. Understand? They're going through some tribulation from time to time. But it says, I will cast you out of this land into a land that ye know not. They always knew that land. They never left that land. So they can't be talking about that. We are the only people who are exiled from another land to this land and are going through these tribulations. We have people from other places who came to America, but they're not going through what we're going through. So they may meet some of the criteria of these things right here. But if they have met all of them, you know it's not talking about them. We are the only ones. People were brought here, cast from another land to this land, and they're going through terrible situations where the Most High is not showing us favor. Because we're not being shown any kind of favor. Because of the curses that's been upon us because of our disobedience to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. I'll go back to Deuteronomy. Don't read. Call it.
Verse 9.
5 and 9?
5 and 9.
Okay.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I, the Most High, thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate me, and shewing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments.
Right. So you want mercy from the Most High? And shewing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandment. Right now the Most High's mercy is on us coming back to our heritage and keeping His commandments. We're not living a lavish life. We're not living the good life. But it's a mercy. It's a mercy to be not going through a situation that we see what people are going through. Because the Most High got His hedge of protection around Israel, wants to keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. And that's always been the case. That's why the Most High sees always as a little sanctuary amongst us. And that's even when on a large scale, as a whole, or people in slavery, or people going through hardship, you always a situation where the Most High would grant you favor to keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. Verse 11.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Most High thy power in vain.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Most High thy power in vain. So, you know you're doing wicked, but you're professing to be obedient to the Most High when you deliberately or presumptuously transgressing against the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Most High thy power in vain. Read.
For the Most High will not hold him guiltless that taketh His name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Most High thy power hath commanded thee.
Right, that's the commandment the Most High gave us. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it. What is sanctify? Set it apart. Keep it holy. Understand the certain things that you give me Isaiah 58:13.
Book of Isaiah chapter 58 and verse 13. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath.
If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath. Read.
From doing thy pleasure on my holy day.
Right. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, don't be going about things your own way. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy own pleasure, don't do your own things which are for your own person's sake. Understand? Don't do things that you normally do through the weekdays. Read from the top again.
If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day.
I'm doing your own pleasure on the holy day. What's pleasure? Going to the club, hanging out, going to the movies, going to dinner. Things which ain't got nothing to do with serving the Most High. That's just personal stuff that that everyday people do every day. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, not doing our own pleasure, going to the ball game, all those things. Read.
And call the Sabbath a delight.
And call the Sabbath a delight. Don't say, man, Shabbat again. Oh man, when the Sabbath gonna be over? You gotta call it the Sabbath and the light. You know what? You gotta look forward to the Sabbath. You gotta look forward to congregating with your brothers, congregating with your sisters. I understand, because it's a time when when you could say that on a whole you have separated yourselves from the other nations and from things of the world. Where you come together with people of like mind, people who take pleasure in keeping the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, in serving the Most High. People take pleasure in coming back to your heritage and reminiscing of how things were with our forefathers when we had this great connection with the Most High, and how that connection and our relationship we had with the Most High was so beneficial to us and glorious to us. If we take pleasure in all that, what's going to happen?
The holy of the Most High.
Or the holy of the keep the Sabbath and honor the Sabbath as the holy of the Most High. Understand? Just like in the world, they look forward to the weekend, but not to serve the Most High, the party. Well, Friday night, just got paid. You know what I'm saying? They just got paid. That is that fat check. They're looking forward to go to the club, to do their own pleasure. But we got to look at the Shabbat in a different perspective. And as a holy of the Most High, where we come together and to reflect in the Most High's greatness. Right?
Honorable.
Because we look at the Shabbat as something honorable. Right?
And shall honor him, not doing thine own ways.
Right, and honor the Most High, man. Honor the Most High for the greatness He did, for delivering us out of Egypt, for delivering us from the different captivities, for delivering us in this time right now, because right now this is like a big deliverance. Coming back to heritage. Especially when we go and teach our people, and it's so difficult for them to see that they are the Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. And we know that without the shadow of a doubt. I know that as Hebrew Israelites, we're supposed to keep the Most High's law, statutes, and commandments. But a lot of our people have been so difficult to even comprehend that. You know what I'm saying? That's you got to honor the Most High for calling you out of darkness and into light. Read.
Nor finding thy own pleasure, nor speaking thy own words.
Not finding our own pleasure, nor speaking our own words. Speaking our own words, talking about things which don't pertain, to the scriptures. Things just worldly things, man. Just speaking of things which are just it's going to lead to conversation which that's can deviate from the Most High, from a knowledge in the Most High, laws, statutes, and commandments, and honoring the Most High. Read. That's it. No, there's more.
Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Most High.
Yeah. Then you shall delight yourself in the Most High. Take delight in the Most High. When you acknowledge the Sabbath, when you acknowledge the Sabbath, you take delight in the Most High, because this is a covenant that the Most High made. And this is good for us, that we become, this keeps us close to the Most High. Even if, things happen during the week, where we had the hard week, a hard day, a hard week. But hey, every seventh day, we come together. We can come together and bear each other's infirmities, and just reconnect with the Most High. So so that take away a lot of stress and burden off of your shoulder. Read.
And I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father.
Right, and the Most High will cause you to ride up on the high places of the earth. That's what He said to our forefathers, and feed us with the heritage of Jacob. The heritage of Jacob is our nationality and everything that our father inherited. Understand that the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding on the riches. That's what the Most High told us back then. The riches was going to be us. Was going to be for us if we kept His commandments, if we kept the Sabbath, if we call the Sabbath of the light, and honor the Most High and not do our own pleasure. So we got to rehearse that. We got to rehearse that. Even though we're in captivity, and you know, we're not seeing the full heritage of our forefathers, but acknowledging the Sabbath, taking delight in the Sabbath, the Most High will do some of this, all of this, in portions. Read.
For the mouth of the Most High hath spoken it.
Right, for the mouth of the Most High has spoken. And right now, the mouth of the Most High is what? The scripture is the mouth of the Most High, because the words of the Most High are contained in the scripture, the Bible. Go back to Deuteronomy. Get me Hebrew. Hebrew, the mouth of the Most. That's what the mouth of the Most High is. Hebrew, I think it is Hebrew 11. Let's see what the mouth of the Most High is. Hebrew 11, verse 1.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 1.
Well, let me see. That's what I wanted. Oh, no. Hebrews 1. Sorry, it's a lot. Hebrews chapter 1. 1 and 1, yeah.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 1 and verse 1. The Most High, who at sundry times in divers manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets.
Right. The Most High, who at sundry times, sundry mean various times, previously, in various times, the Most High who at sundry times, and in diverse manners, in different ways. The Most High in various times and in different ways spake in time past, in previous times, unto the fathers by the prophets. So the Most High in various times and different ways spake in previous time unto the fathers by the prophets. So the Most High would speak. He would send Jeremiah, Isaiah, Obadiah, Elijah, Amos, all these prophets to speak to the Israelites. Ezekiel, Daniel. So that's what the Most High speak to us unto the fathers by the prophets. Read.
Having these last days.
But in these last days, the last days it's a reference to was starting back in the time of Paul and the apostles. In these last days, so Paul was saying in previous time the Most High would speak to us, our fathers, by the prophets. But now he's speaking to us, in these last
spoken unto us by his Son.
In these times, in these last days, spoken to us by his Son. So now Yahushua now was the one speaking to the Israelites in that time. Read.
Whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds.
Right. Whom he hath appointed heir of all things. Was he heir of all things? Son of the Most High, the first begotten Son of the Most High. And as the Son of the Most High, the first Son of the Most High, which Yahushua was, he inherited all things of the Most High. And as sons, and us as sons of the Most High, believe in the Mashiach Yahushua, then we will be joint heirs to the Mashiach Yahushua. I just went there to show all the Most High said the mouth that the Most High spoken. The mouth of the Most High was his prophet, Yahushua, which all those words are contained in the scriptures. So the Bible right now, this last days, are the mouth. Is the mouth. The scriptures are the mouth of the Most High. Read. Go back to Deuteronomy.
Alright. Verse 11. Thou shalt not take the name of the Most High thy power in vain, for the Most High will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Most High thy power hath commanded thee. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Most High thy power. In it thou shalt do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thy donkey, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant, thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. And remember that thou was a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Most High thy power brought thee out of thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Most High thy power commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Most High thy power hath commanded thee, that the days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Most High thy power giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, neither thou shalt commit adultery, neither shalt thou steal, neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor, neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his donkey, or anything that is thy neighbor's. These words the Most High spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me.
Right. So it's just the 10 Commandments that the Most High gave to Moses to give all Israel to follow. Understand? So of course we know that the Most High gave Israel more than those 10 Commandments. All that was Moses up in the mountain with the Most High. 48, right? 40 days, 49. You know what I'm saying? So who also wrote the book of Genesis? Moses wrote the book of Genesis. Right? So how did Moses know all these things which happened before him? Understand? The Most High told him all those things while he was up there with the Most High. So the Most High gave him all these different commandments that we just read and are going to be reading. The Most High gave him Moses all those commandments during that 40-day period. Read. Verse 23.
And it came to pass when ye heard the voice out of the midst of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that ye came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And ye said, Behold, the Most High our power has shewed us into glory his greatness. And we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that the Most High doeth talk with man, and he liveth. Now therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Most High our power any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that hath heard the voice of the living power, speaking out of the midst of the fire, as we have and live? Go thou near, and hear all that the Most High our power shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Most High our power shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. And the Most High heard the voice of your words when ye spake unto me. And the Most High said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there were such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that he might be well with them and with their children forever. Go say to them, Get you into your tents again. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess it. Ye shall observe to do therefore as the Most High your power hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Ye shall walk in all the ways which the Most High your power hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, and that ye may prolong your days in the land that ye shall possess.
Right. So the Israelites, Moses was reflecting on all the things. It was like basically he saw that he was about to die. Because the Moses told him, hey, your days I mean, you're not going to make it in the land because of what happened. So he basically was just summarizing. He was just reflecting on, his time with the Israelites and, reminding them of different events that took place when they were interacting with the Mosai, and reminded them of how they feared the Mosai when the Mosai wanted to speak to them, and they asked Moses rather to speak to the Mosai on their behalf instead of them going up to the mountain to hear the Mosai's voice. And the Mosai, because they said, oh, who have heard the Mosai's voice and lived? We don't want to hear the Mosai's voice. I mean, if you hear the Mosai's voice again, we're going to die. So they had Moses as an intercession. To make intercession between them and the Mosai. But Moses would just relay whatever the Mosai whatever the Mosai had to say to them. Okay. But as for thee, stand thou here by me, and I will speak unto thee of the commandments, and the statutes, and the judgments, which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I give them to possess. Right. So it was the Most High spoke to Moses now, and Moses relayed all the words and commandments of the Most High to the Israelites. Okay. Now jump to chapter 6.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which the Most High your power commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it, that thou mightest fear the Most High thy power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that the days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, that ye may increase mightily, as the Most High power of the fathers hath promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, the Most High our power is one power.
Right. So now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgment which the Most High your power commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye possess them. Okay. Read verse 4 again.
Hear, O Israel, the Most High our power is one power.
Right, that's the Israelite creed right there. Hear, O Israel, the Most High your power is one power. First and foremost, the Most High your power is one power. There is no other power beside Yahweh. That's the Israelite creed. Back in the days, this is what we used to read when we go to camp in New York. So today we read Colossians 3:17. We used to read from this. Here, O Israel, the Most High, our power is one power. Read on.
And thou shalt love the Most High thy power with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them which thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. And when thou write them down upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. And it shall be when the Most High thy power shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities which thou buildest not, and houses full of all good things which thou fillest not, and wells dig which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not, when thou shalt have eaten and be full. Then beware lest thou forget the Most High, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. Thou shalt fear the Most High thy power, and serve him, and thou swear by his name.
Right. So the Most High told Moses to reiterate to the Israelites that he is the only power, and that they should hold his commandments, laws, statutes, and commandments very near to them, right on the front of their heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. And thou shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down and when thou risest up. So the commandments is something like should be like something second nature to you. Understand what in all your endeavors we should be that's why the scripture says Colossians 3:17, whatever you say or do, or allude in the name of the Most High, the Mashiach Yahushua, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand. This, I mean, armband, you know what I mean? Anything that reminds you of your heritage and nationality and in adherence to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why we wear fringes. That's why on a garment with fringes and bordered blue, a reminder to keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. Frontlets in your eyes, man, like in your memory, in your mind. You should have a mindset that of conforming to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. When you got the Most High blessed with the house, make sure you have some Hebrew writing of the Most High's commandments on your house. And it shall be when the Most High the power shall have brought thee into the land which you swear unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give the great and goodly cities which thou buildest not. Because we didn't build them, Most High just gave us somebody else's property. Just slew them, drove them out, and handed all that those goodly cities, goodly trees and vineyards and all that, which we didn't plant. Give them to us. And the Most High said, I took out of the land of Egypt out of bondage. Make sure you fear me all your days, so that you're swear by the Most High's name. Thou shalt fear the Most High thy power, and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. Verse 14.
Ye shall not go after other gods, of the gods of the people which are around about you.
Right. You gotta be surrounded by heathens, which you got your apocryphal. Get Ecclesiastes 17:17.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 17, verse 17. For in the division of the nations,
in the division of the nations. See that the most says about division. The most says not about unity of the nation with Israel. From the very beginning, the Most High was about division. That's why the Most High didn't allow the Tower of Babel to take place, where all the nation was speaking one language and they could easily communicate with each other and come together in one consent to oppose the Most High. So the Most High confounded that endeavor. The Most High confounded that endeavor and created different languages among the different nations at that time. Read? For the division, from the top again.
For in the division of the nations.
For in the division of the nations, read.
Of the whole earth.
Of the whole earth. So the nations were divided. That's why the Most High gave those different languages, to make it difficult to communicate. Read.
He set a ruler over every people.
He set a ruler over every people. Every people are their own respective ruler. All those different nations are their own respective leader. Read.
But Israel,
the Most High is making a separation, right? A distinction. The other nations are their own respective ruler, and even their own gods, idols that they created. Read. But Israel
is the Most High's portion.
But Israel is the Most High's portion. The Most High let you know, I created all the nations, but Israel is the Most High's portion. He said a ruler over those nations. Those nations are their own ruler. He didn't give them the law, statutes, and commandments. And it's not only give that to Israel. But Israel is the Most High's portion. We belong to the Most High. He kept the more.
Whom being his firstborn.
Whom being his firstborn, that's why the Most High said, Israel is my son. Even my firstborn. Read.
He nourishes it with discipline.
He nourishes us with discipline. What is that discipline? What is discipline? Discipline is guidance. Structure. That means you have to follow a certain path, follow a certain protocol. You can't just go in rogue and deviate and doing your own thing. That's what discipline. You nourish us. When you nourish something, you're fed with that from an infant. That's something that that you grow upon, something that you absorb into your system to nourish you and to build you up. So the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments is something that the Most High gave to us to nourish us and to build us up. Read.
And giving him the light of his love, doeth not forsake him.
Right. So the Most High let us know right there. Give me also well in your pocket, get me Ezra 6:54. Right in here. Second Ezra 6:54.
The book of Second Ezra, chapter 6 and verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures.
Right, because the Most High made Adam Lord of all his creatures. Right?
Of him come we all.
Right. Of him come we all. We all came from Adam because what? We know that Laman was came from the lineage of Adam, and Laman was Noah's father. Understand? And we know the earth was destroyed by flood, and only Noah and his 3 sons and their wives, those 8 survived. And the earth was repopulated by Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So we all came from Adam. All the nations that repopulated the earth came from Noah's 3 sons, which all came from Laman and came from Adam. So in fact, everyone on this earth today came from Adam. Read.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen. So we are not all created equal. And the people also whom thou hast chosen, which is Israel, which we are. Read.
All this have I spoken before thee, O Most High, because thou madest the world for our sakes.
Because the Most High made the world for Israel's sake. Hold on and give me Deuteronomy 34:8. To further show you how is it that the Most High made the world for our sakes. Deuteronomy 32 verse 8.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance.
When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance. What is their inheritance? The respective portion of the earth, where those different nations were going to live and occupy. That's their inheritance. Read.
When he separated the sons of Adam.
When he separated the sons of Adam. The Most says about separation. He gave the respective nations their territories where they were going to live and occupy. Read.
He set the bounds of the people.
He set the bounds, the borders, the boundaries. Understand that the lines that designate territories that belong to certain tribes, certain nations. Read.
According to the number of the children of Israel.
According to the number of the children of Israel. So the Most High determined the territories, size and location of those different nations based on the projected population of Israel. And it's a Deuteronomy right there. Israel wasn't even created yet. So when the Most High set the boundaries and border lines for these different nations, he did that in consideration of Israel, which wasn't even born yet, to honor the covenant that he made with our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that our seed, his seed, the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob would inherit the land. the land which was occupied by another nation. Understand? So the Most High always had it in mind that Israel was going to occupy this particular territory of land. That's why I said he made a world for our sakes, for Israel's sake. Understand? And our duty is what? To serve the Most High. Get me Deuteronomy 10 and 12.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10 and verse 12. And now, Israel, what doeth the Most High thy power require of thee?
So the Most High gave us this land. He made the land for our sakes, but in return, what are we supposed to do? What does the Most High require of us? Read.
But to fear the Most High thy power, to walk in all his ways.
Yeah. But the Most High requires of us is to fear him. The Most High power and to walk in all his ways. Give me also Revelation 4 and 11.
The book of Revelation, chapter 4, verse 11.
Yeah. I mean, the Most High created the earth for Israel's sake and required us to keep his commandments. But what's in it for the Most High? What is he getting from all this? He created the world for Israel's sake. So what does he get? Revelation 4 verse 11.
Thou art worthy, O Most High, to receive glory and honor and power.
Right. The Most High is worthy to receive glory and honor and power. Because he is the only power. Read.
For thou hast created all things.
Yeah, the Most High created all things. Read.
And for thy pleasure they are and were created.
Right. And all things were created for the Most High's pleasure. Even Israel was created for the Most High's pleasure. So it's a pleasure to the Most High when we come together in holy convocation, especially the Shabbat day, new moon, tabernacles, the high holy days, come together and give praise and thanks and praise unto the Most High. That's the old duty as Hebrew Israelites. Understand, to honor the Most High. That's why he separated us from the other nations. That's why he gave us those laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why the Most High, having done that, and having given us the glory on that land, and showed himself to us in that manner, he was so angry with us when we disobeyed him, broke his laws, statutes, and commandments. Now go back to Deuteronomy. Here we go, 6. Perfect. 14?
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and verse 14. Ye shall not go after other gods of the gods of the people which are round about. For the Most High thy power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of the Most High thy power be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth. Ye shall not tempt the Most High your power, as ye tempted him in Massah. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of the Most High your power, and his testimonies and his statutes which he hath commanded thee. And thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of the Most High, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest go in and possess the good land which the Most High swore unto thy fathers, to cast out all thine enemies from before thee, as the Most High hath spoken.
See that? I mean, the Most High was going to cast out another nation from that land so that we could occupy the land, because all those nations were totally living contrary to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. So what sense would it make for us to go in that land and possess that land and then live after the manner of those nations, doing the same abominable things that they were doing, and expect that we're going to occupy that land? That wouldn't make any sense to the Most High. So that's why Moses was warning us, take heed that you do not go astray from the Most High, take heed that you don't create a graven image and get the Most High to be jealous, because the Most High is a jealous power. Read.
And when thy son asked thee in time to come, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Most High power hath commanded you? Then thou shalt say unto thy son, we are Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and the Most High brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And the Most High shewed signs and wonders, great and sore, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in to give us the land which he swore unto our fathers. The Most High commanded us to do all these statutes to fear the Most High our power for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Most High our power, as he hath commanded us.
Right. So, our forefather, and verse 20, and when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Most High power hath commanded you? What's the purpose of these testimonies? A reminder of the stories, passed on anecdotally to a younger generation. Why are you telling us this? What you do to let you know of the history that we had with the Most High, and how the Most High delivered us from the bondage that we were in under Egypt, or the Most High plagued the Egyptians with those plagues. And the Most High showed us great wonders and signs of his greatness, and delivered us from the oppression that we were in under Pharaoh, who had us in bondage for over 400 years. That's the purpose of these testimonies and these laws, statutes and commandments, that we should follow them and keep them, so we can prolong our days and not be destroyed and not driven out from the land to live amongst heathens. Okay. Chapter 7, what verse is going up to now?
11.
Verse 11? Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 11.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 1. When the Most High thy power... When the Most High thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou.
Right. Why were these nations greater and mightier than we were? Because these nations were already in the land when we weren't even a nation yet. These nations were already occupying this land. Let's start with us in Deuteronomy 32 and 8. And the Most High divided the land. He did according to the number of the children of Israel. So these nations, greater and mightier than we were, they were more numerous than we were. Because when we came out of Egypt, we were like 600,000 people. You know what I'm saying? So, but these nations had millions of people. You were the last nation to be formed. Understand? We were the last nation to be formed. And all these different nations had their land already. But we became a nation in captivity. We became a nation in captivity, even though we had our own territory in Goshen, in the land of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? These nations had their own land, so they had time to form their own government and all that. But they had time to establish a structure, military, a government. So that all we had was a Mosai. And we were in a position of servitude under a hostile nation. Read.
And when the Most High thy power shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor shew mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For thou wilt turn away thy son from following me.
Right. So the Most High said, these nations which are greater and mightier than we are, he's going to deliver them into our hand. And when you deliver them into our hand, we should not show them any mercy, but we should utterly destroy them. And furthermore, don't make it a marriage with them. Don't give your sons to their daughters, or their daughters to your son. Because that mixing is going to cause influence where, they're going to take you to follow their gods, to worship their gods. Verse 4, for they will turn.
For they will turn away thy son from following you, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Most High be kindled against us, and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images.
See, that's why the Most High is against racial marriage. The two walk together unless they be agreed. So right now, and especially this time also, when you're living amongst, when you are a minority in someone else's country, so to speak. When you are a minority amongst other nation, more than likely their influence is going to be so overwhelming in your household that you're going to end up conforming to their way. They're going to take you away from following the Most High. And if you never knew the Most High, more than likely you never will. Because in your household, it's more than likely it's going to be what? It's going to be some other religion. It's about Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, atheism, Satanism.
And cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy power. The Most High thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Most High did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people.
See that? And the Most High didn't bestow that honor upon us because we were more in number than any other people, because we were the fewest of all people. We were the last nation to be saved, to be created. But the Most High bestowed that upon us because of the covenant that he made with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Read.
But because the Most High loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he has sworn unto your fathers, hath the Most High brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt. Now therefore that the Most High thy power, he is power, the faithful power, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day to do them.
Right. So the Most High is merciful like that. The Most High is. It's like there's no great error with the Most High. Keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. He will show you mercy up to 1,000 generations. He says that's like infinitely. But if you break the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, he will not slack to destroy you in front of to your face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day to do them. Shamash Gaushai. And that concludes today's portion.